I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, Christmas films were like the fourth most important component of celebrating Christmas, with the first three being family, food, and Jesus. By its very nature, this list is going to be incredibly subjective. We've all got very sentimental attachments to our personal favorite Christmas films. Maybe it's not Christmas for you until you watch your cherished copy of Batman Returns, or Ernest Saves Christmas, or Jarhead. Sorry, it's just not the same for me. I considered pretty much every single film that even mentions Christmas while assembling this list. In order to make it into my top 6, you've got to satisfy 3 criteria. First and foremost, it has to take place on or around Christmas. That's a no-brainer. Number 2, the movie has to make me happy. It doesn't have to be brilliant, but I have to come out of a screening happier than when I went in. And 3, these films need to do more than just take place on or around Christmas. They have to actually get me into the Christmas spirit. There's a difference. Road to Perdition isn't on the list, even though yes, it does take place around Christmas time, and yes, I do love it, but it doesn't exactly get me out there caroling. Apologies in advance if your favorite Christmas film didn't make it onto my list. And I don't want to leave anyone hanging, so I will be presenting alternates for pretty much every selection on my list. Runners up, if you will. I promise that by the end of this post, we will mention at least one film that you love. Number 6, the Shane Black Christmas Trilogy.
Yeah, you want to see crazy? I'll tell you.
I mean, it's literally like someone took America by the East Coast and shook it, and all the normal girls managed to hang on.
Okay, everybody who hates Harry here, raise their hand.
See that? Obedient little bitches, too.
Fuck you!
Dad went to 7-Eleven to get scratchers. I guess he won, because that was 6 years ago.
Which happens, dads leave, no need to be a pussy about it.
The Shane Black Christmas Trilogy, as I count it, because he's done more than just 3 action films that are randomly set during Christmas, consists of Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and Iron Man 3, which are all somehow inexplicably improved by being set during Christmas. These also happen to be my 3 favorite Shane Black films, so they're all easy picks for me. They're not perfect. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang's treatment of child abuse as a mere plot device has to be ignored in order for me to enjoy it. And Iron Man 3 merely does the best it can with some pretty plug-and-chug franchise building. But they've all got their merits. I also like that if anybody gets to set his action films during Christmas and nobody complains, it gets to be Shane Black. Number 5, Funny Farm.
Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse.
Out of the way! Get out of the way! Out of the way!
Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Oh, shut up!
This one's not so well known, so I'm going to recount the plot for you. Chevy Chase and Madeline Smith play a couple who move to a small farmhouse in the country so that Chevy Chase can pursue his lifelong dream of being a novelist. But what begins as an idyllic new life quickly morphs into a comedic nightmare.
Why? What happened?
There's a coffin in the garden.
Not only does the town suck, Chevy Chase can't find any inspiration as a writer. And when his wife discovers her nascent writing talents, it only drives them further apart. When Chevy Chase turns in her work and tries to pass it off as his own, the pair decides enough is enough and they're gonna get a divorce. But first they've got to sell the house. So they enlist the entire town's aid in trying to dupe the potential buyers into thinking that this is an idyllic little town.
Cue the deer.
Roger.
This part of the film takes place around Christmas, hence its inclusion on my list. What I love so much about this movie is that most every character in it is a miserable sod, but the writers still manage to make us love them all anyway. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but let's just say it gets me into the holiday spirit like no other. The runner-up here is A Christmas Story. They've both got dark, cynical senses of humor, and very pessimistic at times, but ultimately they both got big giant hearts. Number 4, It's a Wonderful Life.
What'd you say?
I said I wish I'd never been born.
Most people's opinion of this Christmas classic fall into one of 2 camps. They think it's either the greatest feel-good movie ever made, or it's just a bunch of sentimental claptrap. I have a third opinion. I like this movie, but I do not think it's a feel-good film. Honestly, I think it's depressing as hell. George Bailey had big dreams of seeing the world and making a difference in it.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna shoot the works. A whole week in New York, a whole week in Bermuda, the highest hotels, the oldest champagne, the richest caviar, the hottest music, and the prettiest wife.
But family obligations got in the way at every turn. He finally goes home one December evening and suddenly realizes he never did and never will realize any of his childhood dreams. The last act of the film is basically his struggle to come to terms with the fact that he failed. He achieves closure not by finally lassoing the moon,
Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
but by deciding that it's okay not to.
Get me back, I don't care what happens to me.
As a young adult who's busy trying to follow his own childhood dreams, I find this film kind of terrifying. But it's not like George Bailey isn't a hero anyway, that's why I still enjoy the film. George Bailey is a hero, if only because he doesn't consider himself one. I have 2 runners-up. The first is Little Women. It acknowledges how painful and disappointing life can often be, but it's also sweet as hell.
You don't need scores of suitors. You only need one, if he's the right one.
Listen to the child.
The second runner-up is Click, which isn't a Christmas movie, but I do believe it's an unintentional spiritual remake of It's a Wonderful Life.
That's what I was sent down for. I'm your guardian angel.
Angel, Michael.
But with fart jokes.
Hey, that's a pretty good idea. I'll give you the moon, Mary.
Number 3, Die Hard.
You got any Christmas music?
This is Christmas music.
It was December 24th on Hollis Avenue, the dark, when I seen a man chilling with his dog at the park.
Well, of course. The world's greatest action movie happens to be set during Christmas, so you know it's not gonna not make my list.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
I believe that these so-called counter-Christmas movies serve a very important function in our adult lives. They acknowledge what we finally realize in our early to mid-20s, that there is nothing inherently magical about the date that is December 25th. It doesn't owe you anything. You gotta make the magic happen yourself.
Merry Christmas.
Jesus. Fucking California.
Number 2, Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale.
We have Santa Claus.
Rare Exports is a Finnish thriller. I wouldn't call it a horror, which is actually the first film on the list that actually had to be set during Christmas in order to make sense. It tells the story of a group of impoverished reindeer herders who capture a living, breathing Santa Claus. And not the goofy guy you find at the mall each year, but the original Scandinavian spirit that enters your house on Christmas Eve and tears naughty children to pieces. The men decide to ransom Santa Claus to a bunch of scientists to try and save the losses from their reindeer farm.
We have Santa Claus.
But Santa's got other plans. It's hard to go too deep into this film without spoiling any of its delightful twists, but suffice it to say that an important element of this film is that the main character, the hero, the protagonist, is a child. Like Home Alone, if Harry and Marv were bloodthirsty mythic trolls. But seriously, the ending, which again, I won't spoil, is surprisingly bittersweet and extremely cathartic. Everybody should go rent this movie tonight. For those of you wondering, Gremlins was a close runner-up for the number 2 spot, as was Home Alone. Smash those 2 films together, wipe away the blood, switch over to the Finnish language track, and you've got something in the same vein as Rare Exports. Number 1, Jingle All the Way. No, just kidding. Muppet Christmas Carol.
Stop and look around you. The glory that you see.
Well, yeah, just based on the year I was born, I bet half of you could have guessed that this was going to be my number 1 pick. Anyone who has a problem with this film has a problem with me, for reasons no more complicated than the fact that I go to pieces at least 4 times throughout this film. Whatever, okay? It's my turn to be unapologetically sentimental.
I love you, Bill.
You did once.
I am sure we shall never forget Tiny Tim.
How can we endure it?
If Muppet Christmas Carol teaches us anything, it's that nothing makes your friends faster than handing out massive amounts of coin.
And therefore, I'm about to raise your salary.
Oh, and I am about to raise you right off the pavement onto...
Pardon?
The love we found. The love we found.
And what's the runner-up to number 1? The Nightmare Before Christmas, of course. The only reason it doesn't take the top spot entirely is because I consider Nightmare Before Christmas to be more of a Halloween film than a Christmas film. So there you have it. My personal top 6 favorite Christmas films. This is probably my most subjective vlog post ever. As such, I would welcome any and every viewer to submit their list of favorite Christmas films in the comments below. And I would welcome Hollywood to make some Hanukkah films.